injury updates?
Let's see. Farley will be out. He's probably week to week. Molinar will be out. He's week to week. Both have upper body.
Kyle Osterberg back out there practicing. How does he look?
Good. I know it's kind of the trade-off. We get one back and lose one, but it's good to have him back.
And he'll be good to go this weekend?
He'll be good to go.
And then Parker McKay, I thought I saw him back out there too. He's good to go?
He's good to go. The only two that won't be will be the two I mentioned.
Willie Corrin, kind of tell us a little bit about what he's meant to this team, not just this season, but in his career here.
Well, let's see. Obviously, I think the first couple of years, a little bit more of a struggle for him to get in our lineup. I think his development, I think you see he's a big guy. He skates well. He's good with a puck. I think he's got some good offensive instincts. Defensively, I think he's not your most physical guy, but I think he plays a lot of the defensive game more positionally, which the first 2 years was hard for me to understand, quite frankly. I like the bigger guys to play a little more physical, but he tends to use his brain a little bit more than maybe his brawn, and I think that's helped him kind of stay in the lineup. I think in the locker room, I think he's a very vocal guy. I think guys, probably some of them like it, probably some of them don't, but he's a fun guy in the room. I'm just saying he's always talking. I think he's always trying to get guys going, but he's developed into certainly a top six guy for us, that can play in some different situations. He certainly can play on the power play. We've had him there at different periods of his career, but I think he's been a lot more consistent here the last couple of years.
What was it you originally saw to Willie when you were recruiting him?
I didn't know if he was a forward or a D because he played both, and he'd also played both in junior hockey, and Hertz had him there too, and so I wasn't sure what we were going to get. One year he played forward at Fargo, and the other year he played D, so I think that probably helped him offensively and that way, as far as you like to see how he likes to be up and part of the play offensively, and certainly has some pretty good hands for a big guy. But I saw a kid that I've known since he was 2 or 3 years old. He was a feisty little kid when he was that young. I always joke with him. I wish he still had that in him, like he did when he was 2 or 3. But he's just a big body that can skate. We knew he's got some offensive ability. We knew he could play, power play if needed, and also he's an option too if you had to throw a guy up front. But we recruited him as a defenseman, even though he played both. And obviously I knew him, like I said, so I knew the kid when he was young, and he's a good kid, and I think he's done a pretty good job here for certainly the last couple of years, especially being a regular in our lineup.
Carson Soucy, is he the opposite of Willie? Does he use his size a little bit more the way that you expected when you got him?
Yeah, Carson plays with a lot more edge. I think, again, obviously a bigger body, but certainly I think you see the way he plays. He's got a lot more edge to his game. Willie's probably a little bit more, probably a little bit better. Willie's probably a little bit better on the offensive side. Carson's better on the defensive side, if you're trying to compare those guys. But there's no question he's plays the game with a lot more edge.
What's been the biggest improvement that Carson's made since he got here? Is it skating?
Well, I think when he came here, he was a true freshman. He only, he was played 1 year in Spruce Grove, and I think at the time, probably could have stayed and played another year, but we needed a defenseman, and we've brought him in, and I think we threw him right into the fire right away and let him play through some of the mistakes. I thought last year he took another step. I think this year has been, like our team, a little bit up and down. And we need him to be, as a junior and a guy that's played a lot, to be really consistent with his game. And I think this year we've seen bits and pieces of what I think I expect. I think right before Christmas he was really good, and I think he's been a little hot and cold here in the second half. But when you have older players, you look for consistency in their game and not too many ups and downs, and that's what we need out of him. But I think he's got, from getting better, I think, he plays the game, certainly with a lot more confidence. I think his offensive part of his game, getting up with the play and being part of it has gotten better. Obviously he's gotten stronger. I mean, he's still got a ways to go, a frame to fill out. I mean, he's only 195 pounds in a 6'4" frame, so can you imagine him with another 20 pounds on? So hopefully that is something that he keeps working on, because who knows where the limit is. The upside could be really, really, really good with him, as far as just getting a little bit stronger and kind of figuring out exactly what he is as a defenseman.
Was it just kind of coincidence that both he and Parker ended up here, or did you know about the family thing?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know about that. And then, obviously we got Carson a couple of years ago, and over the last couple of years, just watching Parker a little bit, and obviously it's a great connection. I mean, it was nice, I think for Parker to have a guy that's been here and to kind of know, what everything's about. He was able to, to bounce things off him too, to make sure that he's making a good decision. But it certainly helps when you have the family connection. And obviously Carson's been a great player for us for 2 years, and I think you see the development of Parker. I mean, he's going to be a great player here for 4 years for us. I mean, he's really coming into his own, and we expect him to continue to get better and better. And it probably makes it easier too, coming into some place where somebody. And certainly a guy like Carson, who, if he's back, could be wearing a letter for us next year.
North Dakota? Go ahead, Zach. North Dakota, what's the key against playing against these top teams and average on the ice? I mean, keep things simple is what you're looking for.
Yeah, like you and I talked this morning, I mean, the pressure's on them. It's not on us. I mean, we're not expected to go in there and beat them, quite frankly. We haven't played, great in the second half here. Obviously, the last 4 games, we've gotten a few wins, but, they just lost 2 games. They're tough in their building. They're battling for a league championship, so the pressure is on them to not lose three or more games in a row. So we've got to, I think in December, we probably put a little too much pressure on ourselves, and even though we played well enough to win 2 games, we didn't. So we've just got to go in there and just play hockey. We got to go play hockey, and we got to be willing to compete hard, though, I'll tell you that. I mean, if we're not willing to compete hard, we're not going to give ourselves a great chance to win, because they'll be ready to play, and it's a tough building to win in, and obviously their top line is back together, and you saw what they could do when they played here, and obviously their goaltending was great here, so we got to find a way to solve Johnson. Denver did last weekend, saw a few weaknesses in his game, so hopefully we can exploit some of those, but we've got to play hockey, and we've got to go in there with the right mindset as far as, just relax and play, and don't go in there feeling pressure to have to win a game. And I think if we can do that, we'll give ourselves a good chance.